Y'all give me your attention. Let's go ahead and get started. Over the hall. Go ahead and hit this question. At this time, I'm going to ask Chris Hopkins from Toombs County to come up here and give us an invitation.
Thank you, Bart. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we come to you as humble as we know how, Lord. Thanking you for the opportunity to be here, Lord. We thank you for the safe traveling mercies you bestowed upon us. We pray for the safety and protection of our loved ones as they go out throughout the day traveling as well, Lord. We thank you for cotton. We thank you for this organization, Lord. We thank you for agriculture, what it means to this state, what it means to every small town represented here, what it means to national security, Lord. I pray that all the decisions that we make today and the forthcoming year be pleasing in your sight, Lord. And again, just thank you for the opportunity to be here, to be a part of agriculture. In your name we pray.
Thank you, Chris. At this time, I want to recognize all the board members of the Georgia Cotton Commission. Would y'all just stand from the car you please? Matt Coley, Dooley County. Stephen Means, Wayne County. He's not here today. He was representative at the General Assembly. John Ruart, Morgan County. Chris Hopkins, again, Toombs County. Chad Mathis, Baker County. Our newest board member, Greg Sykes, from Bullitt County. David Holton, Board Advisor, Mitchell County. And I'd like to ask any of our former board members, if you've ever been on the Cotton Commission, would you stand and let Jimmy leave? Anybody else here?
I'd like to recognize, stand up again, Lee. I know you like this. Lee just come off our board in 12 years, and he's still involved though with some other organizations.
Cotton Council International, he's going to go overseas with Mr. Bruce here. It's going to be a experience for him. I would like to personally thank Lee for his service on the Georgia Cotton Commission. He's done a lot of good work here.
Tad Smith, National Cotton Council, is here. Molly Crumley with the National Cotton Council. Chaz Holt, U.S. Trust Protocol. Is Chaz in here? There he is back there in the corner. If y'all don't know Chaz, y'all need to talk to him and get to know him. Daniel Rayford, Cotton Board. Monty Bain, stand up just a second. Monty Bain has been with the Cotton Board for 15 years. He's retiring, and Daniel's taking his place. You like to say anything, Monty?
Just thank y'all for helping me those last 15 years because without your help, I couldn't have taken folks on tours and got to know all the good folks on board.
Thank you. Jim Davis, Southern Cotton Growers. Rainer Churchwell, Georgia Farm Bureau. Andy Harrison, Georgia Department of Ag. President Tracy Brundage, ABAC. Mike Taves, Assistant Dean, UGA. Ms. Laura Perry Johnson, Associate Dean, UGA. Mark McCann, Assistant Dean, UGA. There's Mark, I hadn't seen you yet this morning. I don't know if my cotton team members are in here or not. They might still be finishing up meetings or whatever. I'd like to recognize our cotton team. They do an exceptionally good job. We have a really good cotton team that carries out the research that we fund each and every year. And hope today this meeting will be something you can take back to your farms and use to help us be more profitable for better cotton growers. Jody Redd in the governor's office. Jody's here somewhere. Paul Fryer with Congressman Bishop's office. There he is. And that's all our visitors today. And at this time, Taylor Sills is going to come up and recognize our sponsors. And good morning, everybody. As Bart said, my name's Taylor Sills. I'm your Executive Director of Georgia Cotton Commission. And as always, we're real excited about this program, and we couldn't do it without all our industry support. It's always very heartwarming to have the support we have from outside industry. There's a couple things I want to mention. All our door prizes are supposed to be for producers only. So if you are a producer and have not gotten a raffle ticket, please talk to Miss Carey at the door, because we're going to raffle off a $250 gift card at the end of my talk. So it's imperative that you have a ticket if you're going to get $250. Very important. The other thing, in your program, there's an insert. Oh, I got very far ahead of myself. If you've got a problem, we try to spread out these leadership positions across the state, across the cotton producing counties of the state. If you have a problem or a suggestion or anything and don't want to talk to me, don't want to talk to our staff, find one of these people. They're volunteer leaders. They're in your communities, and they're here to help, and they'll be sure to let us know. Now, another group of people I'd like to recognize is Caroline Gentry and Kelly Rogers, and the three of us make up the Cotton Commission staff, and I really appreciate them for all the things they do for us in the office and out in the field throughout the year. And I couldn't do it without them, that's for sure. Now, I'm going to start. For those of you that have seen my county meeting talk, this is a little similar. I cut some things out for time because Camp told me I was getting too long at my talks. But one of the things I want to mention to start off with is that our cotton organizations, as you all know, we have a lot of different cotton organizations. They all play a very unique and instrumental role in the cotton industry. And a lot of them are going through times of transition. What really equates down to is positive evolution. Many of you have met Dave Rupenicker over the years. He recently retired. Jim Davis, who's on our program later, is now the CEO of Southern. Molly Cromley, as Bart mentioned, has taken Jim's role at the National Cotton Council. Monty was recognized earlier as retiring. Daniel comes to us from North Carolina, and we're real excited about him. Barry Worsham has been the CEO of Cotton Incorporated for a long time. He's going to retire at the end of this year. And a young guy named William Kimbrell, who's been overseeing CI's operations in Southeast Asia, is going to take on that role. And first of all, we want to make sure that you all know this, because you are all invested in the success and outcomes of these organizations. We want to make sure that you know what's going on with your organizations. But second of all, I want to point out that a lot of these people have been working in the industry for a long time. It's very positive that they've been able to stay and work with volunteer boards, which isn't always easy, for such a long period of time, and done so much for our industry. And new faces and new ideas and new perspectives will equate to positive change for our industry going forward, and we appreciate the support of all our industry groups. Now, on to our usual conversation. As you see this is how we spend that dollar a bill. You give us the research and extension programming to support our cotton team members, to support other people doing work in cotton. That's the biggest part of that dollar a bale. Southern Cotton Growers and National Cotton Council get another big part of it. But one that we probably don't talk enough about is our promotion and education efforts. We're continuing to do the things we know work. We're doing in-person school days. We're continuing our television, social media advertising, our sponsorship of UGA, Georgia high school football, things like that. But one of the big mantras that I've picked up over the years is you need to meet people where they are. And that's where we're trying to maximize those efforts. So tomorrow, I'm going to Savannah College of Art and Design to meet with a group of fiber design and fashion merchandising students to make sure that cotton's forefront in their mind, so they know how important cotton is in the development of Savannah and therefore their school. They're partnering with Cotton Incorporated on some things later in the semester. But this is a really unique opportunity to meet these people who are going to be the future of that segment of our industry going forward. We're also partnering with Georgia Public Broadcasting's Education Department to do education lesson plans to meet those teachers where they are, to give them the most impactful information that we can about cotton in a way that they understand. And that's kind of where we're going to try to maximize those efforts. To meet people where they are, where it's the most impactful on their end. Now, research, like I said, continues to be and will continue to be the biggest part of that dollar a bale. As you can see, for these two crop years, which is how we allocate our budget, is a little over $1.5 million. Here's a list of those research projects. Excuse me. And as you'll see, there are a few new names. People that are doing work on cotton with our funds this year. A lot of these people also use these funds to leverage money from Cotton Incorporated, NEFA, other groups like that. And UGA is bringing in, but I know between the Cotton Commission and Cotton Incorporated close to $2 million a year, which is very significant funding there. But I'll point out that we're changing how we do these projects based on conversations with you all. We want to make sure that these dollars are spent in the most impactful way possible. So if you have questions about this, contact me, contact one of our Cotton team members. If you'd like to see little changes in these projects, little tweaks to make sure that we're again being the most impactful we can be. Now, I know that cotton is low right now. The crowd that we have here shows me that you all are committed to cotton. And one of the ways that we think that you can reap some benefit out of cotton this year is by signing up for the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. The U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol has been in existence for a few years now. We've seen significant growth in the program over the last couple of years. And one of the ways that we're seeing that is through the financial incentives offered by the Climate Smart Cotton Program. So Chaz Holt was recognized before. Chaz, stand up again. If you want to get signed up for the protocol, or if you're a county agent and want your growers in your county to get signed up for the protocol, or you're a genter and you have questions about it, contact Chaz. They just issued, just for Georgia alone, I think about $1.5 million in direct payments to growers that represent $5 an acre on 706 acres just for signing up. So for an hour's worth of work, you can get $3,500. I think that's a pretty good deal. So if you have questions, contact Chaz. This shows our growth in that program over the last couple of years. The green bar on the right is enrolled acres in that Climate Smart Cotton Program. So those are the producers who are reaping the financial benefit of being a part of the protocol. Another brief thing I'd like to mention to you is the Cotton Module Cover Material Protection Standard, which is very wordy. The industry has been concerned about plastic contamination in cotton for a number of years. There are now obviously a lot of new products on the market. To date, there are only 2 products that have been approved by this standard, which was set by the American Association of Agricultural and Biological Engineers. There are 2 more products going through the field evaluation portion to be on the approved list. I don't know what they are. I've heard rumors, but nobody's told me for sure. So when a new product gets added to that list, if and when, every year we send every producer in Georgia a postcard with tips to remind them how to prevent plastic contamination in their cotton. Now, I feel confident that every single one of you throw it away. I'm fine with that. But this year, if there's a new product added to that list, it will be on that postcard. So for once, let's at least read it for a second, just to see if it's on there. We might even color code so you know what the products are. And the reason that this is important is you see the yellow and the pink are the 2 that are approved. They make up roughly 85% of the market of the module wrap products. But when you take out the what we think are non-module wraps on the right, these are plastic calls in Macon as of the end of the year. You had 47 in that black triangle there that we assume are not module products. So grocery sacks, vegetable mulch, things like that. We're not going to count those. But the new products or the products that are on the list represent far out more than their market share in the plastic calls. This is important for people like Bruce, the Cotton Incorporated people, when they go overseas and talk about American cotton. The first thing they're going to hear about is plastic contamination. So Jim is going to touch on the Farm Bill stuff, but I want to point out that we did do a congressional staff tour this year. It was very positive. We had 9 congressional staffers come down to Georgia for a week, despite all the chaos with the pending government shutdown and the speaker change and all that. We were able to do a very positive tour, and that we're hopeful that will yield positive results. Now, I did see Don Shirley in here. Don, I stole this from you, this definition of demand that goes beyond what we normally discuss. Bruce, I'm sure, will touch a little bit on market things and all their efforts. One of the big factors in demand is consumer income and other things that affect consumer income. What I want to tell you about the market right now is, yes, consumer income is higher than it's ever been before. The problem is the consumer disposable income is lower than it's ever been. So that's something that we've got to overcome. Cotton Incorporated, Cotton Council International, they're all pushing to find ways to differentiate American cotton from other growths and man-made products. But what I want to remind all our producers in the room is that you're part of the demand base as well. So we can be advertising to our neighbors and our friends and our family members and people at church to remind them that they need to be wearing cotton products as well. Now, one thing I want to mention is our Cotton and Coffee series that the Cotton Board does every month, usually the third Tuesday of the month. They do a 1-hour Zoom call. That QR code will get you to sign up. If you don't want to use a QR code, Monty and Daniel or I can get you signed up. They do a 1-hour call with questions to do a deep dive on an issue affecting the cotton industry at time. They're all very interesting conversations. They have a lot of producers get on there. They have about 150 people get on each month. So I would encourage folks, if you've got questions, especially about what Cotton Incorporated is doing, please sign up for those. This is the list of topics for this year. So Carrie, if you'll come on with the raffle tickets, this is my contact information. I want to remind everybody to not assume that we know everything going on. If you've got a concern, if you've got a complaint, don't assume I already know about it. Shoot me an email, give me a call. I'm not going to go as far as to put my cell phone number on the board. I will say that. But I think most of you in the room have it. And we're here to help. Call us anytime. I want to point out July 24th in Statesboro, we're going to do our mid-year meeting again. Last year I was speaking to a group of producers in Bainbridge, and somebody told me that there was no way to get from Bainbridge to Statesboro. And I reminded them of that 90s country song, How Do I Get There? Dina Carter found a way, and so can you. So our first drawing today is going to be for a $250 prepaid gift card. I just broke their basket. And that number is 5163058. And we just handed these things out, so everybody should be in here.
Some of them got them at their register.
That's true. Five 1630664. $3060. It doesn't matter how we do this. It's always awkward and drawn out, isn't it? 5163079. Ronnie Lee. Matt Coley will come introduce our first speaker, and we appreciate it. I'll go ahead and pull up his presentation, but we appreciate everyone for coming and all the support that you all give us.
Good morning. As Sater said, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, and that is Micah Brown. Micah serves as a staff attorney with the National Ag Law Center that's based in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and that is on the campus of the University of Arkansas. The National Agricultural Law Center is a federally funded, nonpartisan research and information center that serves as the nation's leading source of agricultural and food law research and information. Micah received his Juris Doctor, graduating cum laude from the University of Arkansas School of Law. While he was in law school, he worked as a law clerk for the Office of the Arkansas Attorney General. During his second year of law school, Micah began working at the National Ag Law Center as a research fellow. After graduating law school in May of 2020, he joined the center full-time. At the center, his primary areas of research are finance and credit, commercial transactions, secure transactions, federal crop insurance, and foreign ownership of agricultural land. So please join me in welcoming Micah to the program.
Good morning, everyone. I don't think that's going to stand up there. I'm Mike Brown. I'm a staff attorney at the center. Center was established back in the 80s after the farm crisis to provide objective, nonpartisan research and information to our stakeholders, which includes farmers, other ag attorneys, policymakers at the state and federal level. I would recommend signing up for the feed. We're not going to spam you, I promise. It gives a rundown of all ag policy. anything pesticides, check off, foreign ownership, it will be in there. What's going on in the pesticide world? So, 2022, where the EPA announced a new policy that they may implement. Pretty much, that policy, they try to determine the compliance with the Endangered Species Act when it is acting under FIFRA. This policy, if implemented like it is today, as written, would put new use restrictions on most pesticides, almost all pesticides. In turn, that is going to affect all pesticide users. Some of these use restrictions, they're trying to reduce the amount of pesticide spray drift, pesticide runoff and erosion, and some of these use restrictions under this policy, if it's implemented as it is today, it's going to put additional spray buffer requirements, additional methods of land use to reduce the amount of pesticide runoff and erosion. So why is EPA, writing this policy? Bottom line is that they are trying to reduce the amount of future litigation from a lot of these environmental groups that have been suing the EPA over and over again. These environmental groups are claiming that EPA is not satisfying its requirements under the ESA and FIFRA. Lots of lawsuits out there from these groups. So we do have a webinar coming up. The center here in about 3 weeks. If our staff attorney, her name is Bridget Rollins. She's our environmental attorney, does everything pesticides. She is great. Her contact info is on the next slide. She will be doing that and giving a more in-depth look at that policy. What's going on in litigation realm? Last summer, 8th Circuit issued an opinion to require EPA to restore the use of chlorpyrifos. And believe it or not, I actually practiced that word, so I said it correctly up here for like the last 2 days. It does have restored use in 11 food and feed crops. Cotton is included in that. Peanuts is not. Glyphosate litigation. Everyone's seen all kinds of litigation on this pesticide. A lot of these lawsuits have been filed and litigated in St. Louis. Obviously, that's where Monsanto is headquartered. Bayer had a very long winning streak until recently with this jury verdict out of Pennsylvania and that is correct, $2.25 billion to this plaintiff that claimed that glyphosate caused his lymphoma. So we will see as more of these cases get out of St. Louis and go to a jury, we might see some more plaintiff rewards under this use of pesticide. There are currently another challenge to dicamba. It's the same group that challenged dicamba registration a few years ago back in Arizona, claiming that EPA's registration of dicamba is violating the EPA or the ESA and FIFRA. Currently, dicamba is available for the 2024 growing season, and the registration for dicamba is set to expire in December 2025. So it's really unclear on what the court will decide in this case, and especially with dicamba registration expiring next year. So there's Bridget's contact info. She will take any question and point you in the right direction. And so do not ask me about pesticides. She prepared all these and got me here. But checkoffs is something I know about, and obviously y'all do too. There have been a few cases that the U.S. Supreme Court has heard concerning checkoffs, and all these relate to First Amendment claims. You know, for y'all's sanity in mind, I'm not going to get in the details of these cases, but there was this Johans case, and it dealt with some cattle producers. They did not like the way the checkoff was advertising. Cattle is a general commodity, and they said, hey, we're paying into this, and we disagree with the speech that's being put out by this. That's a violation of our First Amendment rights. Supreme Court came back and said, nope, that does not violate First Amendment because that is government speech. You're paying into a government entity. The government is the one that is making the speech. No commercial speech involved here. And since that time, every First Amendment challenge to checkoff board has been shot down. However, a few years ago, we have this Janus decision. It doesn't deal with checkoffs. It's actually a case that deals with public employees having to pay into this union that they disapproved of all this political speech that the union was putting out. And they said, hey, this is a violation of our First Amendment rights right here. We don't want to fund a union that we completely disagree with politically, but our dollars are being used for this political speech. So Supreme Court came back and said, yeah, that is unconstitutional. You have to give these employees an expressed opt-in option to be a part of the union, to pay into the union. There is this school of thought out here that this Janus decision can be applied to a checkoff First Amendment challenge, just like Johans. As long as Johans is still the law and the Supreme Court uses that precedent, Cotton checkoff likely not vulnerable to a successful First Amendment challenge. However, after this Janus decision, there likely is going to be more First Amendment challenges to checkoff. Legislation-wise, at the federal level, there's this Opportunities of Fairness in Farming Act, or OFF Act. Companion bills run in the Senate and the House. Proponents of this bill have said they want transparency in checkoff boards. Something this measure would do, if enacted, prohibit checkoffs from engaging or contracting with any group, person that is actively trying to influence policy or policy action in ag. And that is such a broad topic because agriculture touches so many different industries. So it's not really clearly defined in that measure what that would actually include. There's exception, higher education institutions for things that checkoffs do, education and research. This would require checkoff boards to obtain approval for every contract through USDA. So they have to go to USDA and say, hey, we want to make this contract. Have to go to USDA for that. They would have to publicly publish their budget. So all the money coming in, all the money coming out, that's going to have to be publicly published. And besides the audits that checkoff boards already go through with AMS, this will require USDA Inspector General to have an audit periodically within 5 years, and then another audit by the U.S. Government Accountability Office, or GAO, every 3 to 5 years. Even though this is a standalone proposal right now, something like this could show up in the Farm Bill. Someone try to get it in. Or some other kind of appropriation bill. This could show up. Foreign ownership. It has been an issue that has been red hot in ag policy. As many of you have probably seen on the news, this is talked about quite a bit. We have this federal monitoring. So there is no federal restriction of foreign ownership. There's this Agricultural Foreign Investment Disclosure Act, or FIDA, that requires foreign persons to disclose their agricultural land holdings in the U.S. That includes long-term leases, which are 10 years plus. The USDA releases a feeder report every year, and it's always a year plus behind. So the most recent report the numbers are through December 31st, 2022, and we can see we have over 43 million U.S. ag acres that are owned or long-term leased by foreign individuals, foreign entities, and foreign governments. With that is a 3.4 million acre increase from the previous year, and over the last 10 years, you can see over 17 million are now in the hands of foreign investors. Almost half of this is in forestry land, and then followed by cropland and pasture land. So who are these countries? Canada. They own a ton of land. But that makes sense with forestry. And in Georgia, Canadian investments are heavy in forestry industry. China reports less than 1% of privately owned ag land acreage and non-ag acreage that they own. Here's the top states right here. Huge increases in Colorado and Alabama and Michigan over the last year. Breakdown of Georgia, you can see, Georgia does have a lot of foreign ownership compared to other states over that million acre mark. Not big increases from the 2021 report to this most recent report that we do have. A lot of this is in forestry. Chinese investments, Georgia, are just south of 2,000 acres. Canadian investments and German investments, they make up almost 50% of these numbers in Georgia. Here's just a breakdown. You can see lots of concentration in foreign ownership in the south, at the tips of the U.S. That makes sense. A lot of forestry going on right there. At the state level, this issue has just exploded over the last few years. Lots of media attention on a Chinese entity purchasing ag land near Air Force Base in Texas, and much more media attention on a separate Chinese entity purchasing ag land near a Air Force Base in North Dakota. And those transactions happened somewhere in 2017 onward, and then started getting media attention in 2020, 2021. You can see a lot of these states starting to propose legislation. In 2023, we have approximately 36 states that have some kind of proposal to restrict foreign investments in the U.S. We can see the comparison. The states in red are the ones that have restrictions, and we can see in that 2023 where lots of these states were proposing these measures, they have enacted restrictions. We have 10 new states added in 2023, so now we have almost half the U.S. that has a restriction against foreign investments in ag land. And you see Georgia is green. Those are the states that have language in their laws, their state laws that say, yeah, we allow foreign investment. And even though Georgia does have this law that permits foreign ownership as long as they are remaining at peace with the U.S. and the state, this piece of legislation, this law, is very, very old, as you can tell. And as it's currently written, I don't know if it's enforceable. So that's why Georgia is in green. Someone else can read that law and think it's, that might be a restriction. But as I read it, it's likely not enforceable. So they are currently green. 2023, we had 3 proposals in the Georgia legislature to restrict foreign ownership of ag land. And then we had another proposal that was restricting all real property. And you can see the big 4. Who are the big 4? That's going to be China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia. A lot of those 2023 states were proposing measures and enacting measures to restrict the big 4. A lot of the pre-2023 laws, they have more generalized language, like restricting any foreign entity, any foreign government. But these states that came into session in 2023 and started proposing these measures, they were faced with big lobbying firms lots of money because last time I checked, we don't deem Canadian investments or Canada as a foreign adversary. And with them being the biggest investors in U.S. ag land, we did not want to restrict them. So currently, 2 days ago, Georgia State Legislature proposed SB 420. It takes a very similar stance to one of the proposals last year. This would restrict any foreign individual, business entity, or government that is deemed by the U.S. Secretary of Commerce a foreign adversary. And that list right there, that foreign adversary list includes the big four, plus Venezuela and Cuba. So from acquiring any possessory interest in ag land, and it also includes portion land. One thing that's interesting about this is that anyone who is intentionally violating this law, it's a felony. So there are civil and criminal liability attached to this kind of proposal. Arkansas, my home state, and Florida are the only two states that have criminal liability attached to their foreign ownership law. So Georgia, if this is enacted, they become the third state. And now we can see 2024, lots of state action. Georgia's now green. They turned green with proposed legislation a couple of days ago. 30 states. So this issue is going to continue to grow. It's at the federal level as well. We can probably see a federal proposal and maybe even a corporate farming law, which would restrict any kind of corporate farming at the federal level in the Farm Bill possibly. So I'll close up with the Corporate Transparency Act. So this was actually in the Defense Appropriations Bill a few years ago, and why is that relevant to ag? But really the goal of that was to prevent money laundering and tax evasion of shell corporations and smaller entities, people running money through them. And so it's implemented by the U.S. Treasury Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or better known as FinCEN. So what is the requirement under this? So any business entity that is formed by filing a document with the state's Secretary of State office, they are likely required to report their ownership structure to FinCEN. There are lots of exceptions, but there's no exceptions for small businesses or ag entities. So many of y'all with actual entities that would likely not meet an exception because it is generally 20 or less employees, would be required to report this, your ownership structure. So you have to identify who your beneficial owners are. That's anyone that owns or controls 25% of the entity, or anyone that's calling the shots in that entity. So it's going to be president, CFO, CEO. So if you were established before the beginning of this year, you just have to report your beneficial ownership. Any entity that's established from 1/1/24, the beginning of this year, they also have to report their company applicants. That is the person that actually took the documents to the Secretary of State or filed online. They're the ones that had their hands on the documents and did that, established that entity. That could be your attorney, any kind of tax professional that did that work. So there are pretty hefty civil penalties attached to this for non-filers, and there's criminal liability also attached to this, imprisonment time. Companies established before this year have until the end of the year to file. I will say I've heard rumors that there are a couple of appropriations bills being worked on at the federal level to either reduce funding for this, which means FinCEN would not be able to actually implement this completely. It is online right now where you can go report, but it's just rumors. I'm not sure, but entities established before this year do have till the end of the year I appreciate y'all having me today, and any questions besides pesticides, just come up to me after this.
I left my ticket basket over here. I've made a mistake. Thank you, Micah. That's very interesting information. They do a lot of really neat work at the National Ag Law Center, and they're very open to conversations, anything. If anybody wants to reach out to them about anything at all, I know they would welcome that. While we get our next speaker set up, see, our next one, we're going to give out one roll of Tama Premium Wrap. So we'll go ahead and draw that now. 516-3071. Five 163-069. I'll get with you in a little bit. All right, our next speaker is Mr. Bruce Atherley, but Lee Cromley is going to come introduce him while I get his PowerPoint pulled up.
Thank you, Taylor. I'm excited and honored to introduce our next speaker, who comes from a long way from here. He went to a lot of trouble to get here today, so Bruce, we appreciate you being here. I got this really good bio I could read, and I don't think I'm going to do that. But I would like to make a couple of comments, if I could, that kind of relate to the topic that Bruce will bring to us. I saw last week where the WASDA report came out with an estimate of U.S. meal use at less than 2 million bales. U.S. meal use is less than 2 million bales. You say, well, that's not surprising because the trend has been that. We've been losing domestics for a long time. That's the lowest level since 1884. 1884, Bruce. I know you know that, but that's the lowest level. So that's got to be a watershed moment, for the cotton industry. And it relates, I think, to what we'll talk about today. Another thing, and everybody knows this too, Brazil has become a real powerful force in the export market. Brazil is almost catching up with the U.S., I think, Bruce. Bruce will have better numbers than me, but those two things just jump out at me. That our lifeline is exports. There's no question about it. And it's getting worse. Or it's getting more prevalent. I don't know worse or better, but Cotton Council International, that's the importance, I believe, of this organization is that's our export promotion for the cotton industry in the United States. And so we can't underestimate that, Bruce. We can't underestimate the importance, and no pressure on you, by the way, but it's important work. And Bruce leads the organization, does a great job. It's funny, Bruce was telling me earlier, he's been at General Mills and Wrigley and somebody else. Yep. For like 7 years each. This is the longest he's been in one position, Jimmy. I didn't know that. 9 years. And time moves on, doesn't it? But I'll hush. But Bruce comes with a great resume. He comes with a great energy and enthusiasm for the industry. Bruce, we just look forward to hearing from you. I would say this, and this is just more of a personal thing. I appreciate Bart's gone. But I appreciate the Cotton Commission supporting Cotton Council International. This is kind of a new thing for the Georgia Cotton Commission. I think it's important as we look forward to continue that support. That's just my 2 cents worth. Come on, Bruce. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it. Thank you, Lee. And again, it's a pleasure for me to be here again in Tifton, Georgia, with you. I think this is my 3rd occasion to be in Tifton and have the opportunity to speak to you. So thank you for the invitation. I also want to say a special thank you for your cash contribution to CCI. You guys, as part of your, the slide Taylor put up before, are contributing to CCI. That money is so important. And here's why. Let me explain to you. So what we do is we get about $4.5 million from the U.S. cotton industry, from different organizations all over, the U.S. cotton belt, okay, including you guys. What do we do with that money? So we take that money and then we apply every year to the USDA for what we call a MAP and FMD grant of money. There's about $250 million allocated in the Farm Bill every 5 years for export promotion of agriculture. So we apply for that money and we get historically about $20 million, okay? So your contribution gets multiplied by about 4.5 times. So that's a pretty good return on your money. And then later on today, I'm going to tell you, what do we do with that money? How do we go about promoting U.S. cotton? And to Lee's point, it's more important than ever because unfortunately, and it's a travesty that the U.S. mill industry has fallen so low. It's really, it hurts. And it just is a fact, right? That now, in the last year, that's only about 15% of total cotton demand will stay in the U.S. to be spun into yarn. 85% of it is leaving, the United States and going abroad. And I'll talk about where in a minute. I first want to talk to you a little bit about the cotton market and demand, okay? Then we'll talk about what CCI does. I'm going to talk to you about something called rap. That is not going to be music. I'm not going to do any rap for you, but it's a pretty interesting opportunity that's coming up for us in the future, and then we'll summarize. So what about that cotton market, okay? World consumption. So this is world consumption, looking at back since 2007, and you can see, for the last couple of years, we have been pretty low. We're at 112.4 million bales, that's world mill use, and that's down 10 million bales from kind of the post-COVID bounce we had back in 2020. 10 million bales, that is a lot of cotton we have lost. Now when we look at world consumption for the last year, this is the USDA, the WASDE estimates, projections by month. And you can see they started in June estimating 117 million bales, and every single month they've dropped their estimate. Now we're down to this 112.4. I'm not sure if they're going to drop it again or not, but again, we're down almost 5 million bales from what they estimated at the beginning. So demand is just not there. And while prices, I know, have jumped up a little bit in the last couple weeks, maybe to around 85 cents a pound, we need world demand to come back if we're going to see prices get up to where we want them to be, which is in that 90 cents and above range where we were, for a little while there in the past. So, what's going on? So we tried to analyze, are people not buying clothes anymore? Are they not buying cotton? And the answer is no, they're still buying clothing. This is apparel sales. I know you can't see all these things, but the far, I think it's the light blue at the very end there is the latest months for 2023 demand, in terms of how many billion US dollars spent in the US on apparel. And honestly, it's flat to up. So it's not like consumers are no longer buying cotton textiles, not like they're not buying apparel anymore. It's down a little bit more in Europe. But the whole industry, appears to be, okay. Again, it's not great. I mean, if you talk to the brands, you'll see they're not, having great years, but it's not terrible. Where we are getting hit is with imports, okay? Imports into the U.S. of man-made fiber are down 21% this year, or 2023 year to date, and down 26% year to date in 2023. So it tells you that there was a lot of inventory in the system post-COVID. Retailers added more inventory, mills added more inventory. That big post-COVID jump we saw, we're still working that off, I think, as we get through it. So I feel like, we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe with prices coming up, I think that's an indication we're going to see better demand coming. But honestly, that is what we need. We need the world economy to keep growing, and we need more demand. Let's take a look at U.S. cotton exports. You know, this year will be our lowest year in the last 10, dropping to 12.1 million bales. And you know why that is. No rain in Texas, so much smaller crop than normally we would have. So that's, you know, concerning. Where does the volume go? We talked earlier, and Lee alluded to this, less than 2 million bales now staying in the U.S. So where's it going? China. Now, everybody, you know, seems to be united on bashing China, and again, there's a lot of political tension, a lot of issues, again, the U.S. has with China and their policies. And guess what? They are our biggest customer. So I was in China twice last year, right after it opened. China was the last country, this is really ironic, China was the last country in the world to open up, you know, post-COVID. You believe it? They started it, and they're the last country to open up. So I've been there twice because they're buying your cotton, okay? So they bought about 25% directly. But if you look at some of those other countries, like Vietnam is number 2, okay, with almost 2 million bales, a big portion of that volume is bought by Chinese-owned mills in Vietnam. So if you look at the impact in total of China on the U.S. cotton, they probably buy directly or influence probably a third of all our volume last year, which is kind of scary. And we're going to talk more about what we can do to diversify away from that in the future. And then we also we ship to Pakistan, Turkey, Mexico, Bangladesh, Indonesia, India, Peru, and Guatemala are the other big countries we have. Lee again stole my thunder and, you know, kind of put this out there, but I'm glad he did. Brazil has come on like gangbusters in the last few years. Okay, so Brazil, and it might be hard to see in the back, is the red bar. This is export share. U.S. used to be, when I first started, you know, 9 years ago, we were really close to 40% export share, and everybody else was kind of, you know, in the teens. Now, you know, Brazil this year is basically, we're neck and neck together. When I tell you the yield, so Brazil has a real advantage, right? They have 2 growing seasons, you know, ours, and then one in the summer. And then they will actually, you know, get yields. Gary Adams was telling me yesterday of 1,700 pounds an acre. 1,700 pounds. Isn't that crazy? Again, but they had a really good weather year, to be fair, this year. But they are coming on like gangbusters, like I said. Every bale now in Brazil is classed. It carries a QR code. It can be tracked back to the farm, actually. And about 80% of their cotton is what they call BCIs, qualified as sustainable. So they have a promotional group based in Singapore. They are aggressively courting the Chinese. Okay, about 60% of Brazilian exports go to China. So that is our main competition in China, but we compete with them in every country in the world. They're basically copying everything CCI has been doing for years. Farm tours, seminars, newsletters, you know, etc. So Brazil is a real threat. We do have 2 points of differentiation, and again, I'm going to talk about those today with the U.S. cotton industry. One is the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, and the second one is what we call Cotton USA Solutions. And again, I'll tell you a little bit more about those. But just in summary for this section, I think demand is going to get better in 2024 gradually. You know, it looks like, knock on wood, we're going to achieve that soft landing that the Fed has been shooting for. Second, we need China. If China just blows up tomorrow, I'll be honest, you know, I don't know where we're going to put all of your crop. So we got to figure that out. And third, Brazil is a big threat to our supremacy. We've just owned, you know, exports of cotton for years, and now we're threatened by Brazil. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about what are we doing to combat Brazil, what are we doing to promote your crop around the world. And one of the things that I like to start with is a video that just tells you what we're trying to achieve, which is peak performance with U.S. cotton. So that's just a little hype video. By the way, you know, James told me I could play the volume. James, I couldn't get it to play any louder, actually. So we do only one thing. Our only goal is to promote and increase long-term demand for your cotton. That's all we do. Cotton Incorporated is all about generating demand for the overall cotton market, and as you saw earlier, that's critically important. But all my organization does is focus every day on how do we sell more U.S. cotton, okay? So we have three priorities. One is the promotion of the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. Two is leveraging our technical team to generate higher U.S. cotton usage. And third is we use events around the world to promote U.S. cotton. So I'm going to talk about each one in turn. First, the protocol. Now, I know you guys have all, heard about the protocol. You probably sat in seminars. You probably had individual pitches. So why was this thing created? And some of you are probably going, this thing is a big headache. What's the big deal about this? So 5 years ago, when I would go around the world, and by the way, this is talking to brands, retailers, talking to mills and manufacturers, all I heard was, we can't buy U.S. cotton because our customers demand that we use BCI cotton. And I'm like, why is that? It's because the brands and retailers created lists of sustainable raw materials. So not just cotton, wool, leather, etc. And they said by the year 2025, and in some cases 2030, they said, we are only going to buy cotton, in this case, from what we consider to be sustainable sources. And guess what? U.S. was not on that list, okay? I'm talking about the top 100 global brands in the country, in the world. I'm talking about Levi Strauss, I'm talking about Wrangler. They said, we don't know about U.S. cotton. And we're like, seriously? And you guys are probably saying, really? We're the most sustainable in the world. But we did not have what BCI had, which was we didn't have a grower questionnaire to document your sustainable farming practices. We didn't have independent verification, and we didn't have any data to prove that we were better. So that's why we created the protocol. Because if we hadn't, we would have been locked out of 10 to 15% of the cotton market worldwide. Guaranteed, it would have disappeared on us. So that 112 million number would have been 100 million, bales of cotton we would have been competing for. So we created the program. Again, it's created by growers and merchants, co-ops, the 7 segments of the cotton industry. We opened membership actually in June of 2020. So it's 3.5 years old, and it's been an amazing amount of progress in a short amount of time. We've been accepted as a sustainable cotton option by organizations in Germany, the Textile Exchange here in the U.S., Cotton 2040 in the U.K. We've had sector integration with all these sustainable, NGOs around the world. We've come a long way. And then from an acreage standpoint, at the end of 2023, we're at 1.6 million acres. And again, you guys represent, I think I saw the number up there earlier, 2 million acres already enrolled. So thank you for that. We're going to talk more about why that's so critically important, but that is a big deal. And so thank you for getting in there. You can see this is the grower enrollment from around, the U.S., and it's pretty heavily concentrated right here in Georgia and the Southeast, which is great. We've also had, say, a 245% expansion. So we went from zero, we had 0 mills, obviously, when we started signed up. So we're signing up the supply chain around the world. Today, I just got the number, we're now at 2,100 members. 2,100 supply chain members around the world have joined the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. And from a brand, so there's the 2,000, and from a brand standpoint, we've had 60% growth. We have 43 brands now that have enrolled in the program. And those are some of them: Target, Ralph Lauren, Macy's, Dockers, Levi Strauss, Tesco, Adidas, okay, Amazon, PVH, American Eagle. We've got now some of the biggest brands in the world that have basically said, we like your program, we're signing on. And by the way, when they sign on, they pay us $50,000 just to join, okay? And then they pay us additional money in terms of the amount of U.S. cotton volume they use. So this is not an easy sell. It usually takes us an average of 18 to 24 months to sign one of these big brands, okay? But we've got now a big portion. We can always get bigger, and we're still trying to get more brands every day, but we've got a lot of major brands. Let me tell you quickly about Levi Strauss. Levi Strauss is the iconic, jean company in the world, right? And shouldn't they and their jeans be using all U.S. cotton? But again, go back 5 years ago, they had not recognized U.S. cotton as being sustainable. And so they were starting to move away from U.S. cotton. Now they've joined the program, they've seen what this is all about, and they are switching everything back to U.S. cotton, okay? So we have come a long way in 3 years, but we still need your support. Now, before I switch to the transparency thing, I'm going to give you the quick sales pitch. So if you haven't signed up for the protocol, why should you? Anybody want to answer the question? What would make you sign up for the protocol?
A check, dollars.
Check. Thank you. Money. Jimmy, thank you for that. So, there are 3 reasons you should sign up for the protocol. Money, money, money. Okay? I know, look, you guys, have to make money. You run, a tough business. I can't imagine doing what you guys do. And you heard earlier from Taylor, if you sign up today, you spend a couple hours, you put all your data into, fill out the questionnaire, put your data in. Chaz and his team are glad to help you with that. You can get up to $3,600, $5 an acre for that. Just for that, okay? Send you a check. A couple hours work, that's $1,800 an hour. It's more than I make. So if you want to split it with me, I'll help you fill out the questionnaire. We'll do it together. But that's number 1. Number 2 is, what that does, that's part of the Climate Smart grant that the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol got from the USDA. That opens you up to the opportunity to do even more sustainable business practices and get paid for cover crops, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the number 2 opportunity to make more money. And the number 3 opportunity is something I cannot promise. And in the future, what's happening is brands now don't say, hey, I want this shirt made of cotton, and I don't care what cotton. They're saying it's got to be from one of my sustainable sources, and because of this next issue we're going to talk about, they're going to tell them, I want it to be U.S. cotton. When they specify that this shirt or this pants, have to be made from U.S. cotton or protocol cotton, what's that mean? The mills have to buy it. They have no choice. They can't go shopping for lower cost Brazilian or Indian cotton. They've got to buy your cotton, and they've got to pay a premium for it. And that's what we're driving for. Again, I'm not promising a premium. Chaz, did you hear that? I'm not promising a premium. Okay. I'm not allowed to say the word premium. But anyway, that's the ultimate goal. We want to get more money for your crop. For every pound you make, if you top out at yields, how do we get more money for each pound of cotton that you guys grow? But anyway, those are the 3 opportunities. So please go see Chaz if you haven't signed up. Again, this is easy money. Transparency. Why is transparency so important? So we talked about sustainability a little bit, and again, that's all about measuring our metrics and greenhouse gas reduction, et cetera. But brands and retailers want that, and they want something else now. And they want to know where every node of their supply chain, where this product, this shirt, these pants came from. Every single node, okay? And that's because of that area in red. Anybody know what that is? Come on, scream it out. It's not Arkansas. It's not Alaska. That is Xinjiang. Okay, Xinjiang is the northwest portion of China, where China grows 90% of their cotton. It is also the area that has a predominant minority population called the Uyghurs. And the Uyghurs have been, again, allegedly, I have to say the word allegedly, persecuted by the Chinese, and therefore, because of that, the U.S. passed something called the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, and it started to be enforced in June of 2022. And basically, that prohibits the importation of any product, by the way, not just cotton, but any product that is affiliated or came from that region of Xinjiang. Okay, Customs and Border Protection and Department of Homeland Security is tasked with keeping those products out. And they are actively stopping shipments by major manufacturers if they suspect, they just have to suspect that there's forced labor cotton in there. They stop the shipment at the port, and then the brand retailer has to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's the opposite of guilty, innocent until proven guilty. In this case, you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. They have to prove where did that cotton come from? Okay, so they got to go spinner, fabric, dye and finish, garment manufacturer, which, by the way, these guys never did before, right? They never knew. They didn't know who spun their cotton. They didn't even know what cotton was in there. Now they have to know. And they have to be able to show Customs and Border Protection, if they get a shipment stopped, a map that looks, again, this is just an illustrative map, to show where every node of the supply chain, where their products came from. So what we have with the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol is a traceability system. We have it in partnership with a company called Textile Genesis, so we can trace where your cotton goes. We track the PBI to the spinning mill, then we can track it all the way through the supply chain so that we can say to Customs and Border Protection, this is U.S. cotton, you don't need to worry about stopping the shipment. So we've got that up and running. We've got, 487 mill manufacturers registered, 20,000 transactions, 4 million bales of protocol cotton, et cetera. So the point is, it's shifted from sustainability, which is still important, to traceability. But that Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act has got every brand in the world talking to us about using our program and getting more U.S. cotton, because they know they don't want to have a problem. When they have a container stopped at the port and have to reship it somewhere, it's huge money for those guys. It's huge, lots of issues it creates. So anyway, that's the story about the protocol. I'm going to switch now to talk about Cotton USA Solutions, which you probably don't know much about. You may have heard a little bit about it. But this is what we call our technical team. We created this about 5 years ago because as I went around the world and I talked to spinning mills and meetings like this, and I'd say, U.S. cotton is better. And they say, no, it's not better. You can't prove that. So we started doing studies in mills to prove that U.S. cotton processes more efficiently, with less waste, higher efficiencies, and they would make more money if they use U.S. cotton. So we did the studies, so we showed them the studies, right? And you know what they said? We don't believe you. We don't think that, your, data is right. You did it in Bangladesh, and we're in Pakistan, and that's not our mill, blah, blah, blah. So we said, fine. So we started hiring technical experts, guys who came out of spinning mills, okay, and knew, so we could send them into the mills and run trials and show them that U.S. cotton is better than Brazilian, Indian, etc. And so that's how we ended up building the technical team, which now has 8 people around the world. And this is, so again, CCI, we have about, just so you know, we have about 50 representatives around the world promoting U.S. cotton. We've got 10 people doing nothing but sustainability in the protocol, and 10 people now in this technical team. And all they do is go to spinning mills and work with them and show them how to process U.S. cotton more efficiently. Because my other 50 people, honestly, they're not technical experts, but these guys are. These guys go into the customers and can show them what's going on. 500 mills in 25 different countries over the last 5 years. And remember, nobody else has this, okay? Just like the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, with the traceability component, BCI doesn't have a traceability system. We do. So we have got 2 distinct advantages over Brazil. So we do 5 different things with spinning mills. We do on-site mill visits, U.S. Cotton Academy, mill exchange programs, seminars, and this new thing called the Mill Performance Index. I'm not going to belabor all these things, but just know that what these technical guys do is they go into the mills, and it's kind of like, if I came to your growing operation, I wouldn't know what questions to ask you, okay? And if I go to a spinning mill, honestly, I don't know what questions to ask them, but our guys do. They talk the same language, and so they're trusted by these mill owners. It's really powerful, honestly. So this is from one, testimonial. This guy said, from a big mill, honestly, one of the bigger mills in Turkey, we want to express our intention to increase the share of U.S. cotton in our mill next year based on the performance and yield that U.S. cotton has clearly demonstrated. That's what we're trying to achieve at every mill around the world. Second thing we do is these U.S. Cotton Academies. This is where we get 25 young mill people. And I said these could be daughters, sons of mill owners who are ultimately going to run the mill, and we bring them for a week and we teach them all about U.S. cotton. Here was a guy that came out of Pakistan, said, I went into the course expecting somewhat of a marketing campaign for U.S. cotton and came out of the course with a much better understanding of what sets U.S. cotton apart and how users can actually benefit from it. Again, because we're not just talking about, I'm a marketing guy, but these are technical people, so they talk their language. Third thing we do is this mill exchange program where we take what we call non-believer mills, mills that don't use a lot of U.S. cotton. We take them to what we call a believer mill, somebody who believes in U.S. cotton, and we let the mill owner tell them why it's so important to use U.S. cotton. So they hear peer-to-peer, so it's not coming from a CCI representative. We do U.S. cotton seminars. We teach them how to buy, and use U.S. cotton. And then finally, we have this new thing called the Cotton USA Mill Performance Index, okay? This is where we collect data from 100 spinning mills around the world, okay, in 5 different sections. And then we tell them, for the first time ever, where they rank versus their other comparable mills in the world. They've never had any data like this ever before. And so now, through these 5 things, material yield, machine efficiency, labor productivity, efficiency management, and energy management, we can show them how they can use U.S. cotton and do better. I should show you back here. So right there at the bottom, you can't quite see it, we have what we call a U.S. cotton simulator. So it's set up like almost like a, car tachometer, dashboard. So the simulator, if you adjust the amount of U.S. cotton you use, you see how your measures improve by using U.S. cotton. So we're just rolling out that tool right now. We think it's going to really be another powerful addition to our service offerings. So the third part that we do is we do global events, okay, around the world where, again, we do a lot of speeches, we do seminars to teach people about the advantages of U.S. cotton. Last year we did 30 events. We talked to 3,500 people in 20 different countries. We get really, really good reviews on this. And again, we get 95% are likely to recommend future, buying cotton. They've got their objectives met. 88% feel U.S. cotton quality is better than cotton grown in other regions. So the marketing seminars, work. And so we do those around the world. We measure them, we do post surveys to make sure we're saying we're getting the right messages across. Again, they're going up and getting better every year over year. One of the most powerful things we do, and again, some of you have been involved in this, and it's so important. I like to say to people, nobody sells U.S. cotton better than our growers, okay? So when we bring brands and retailers, and we bring them out into your operations, and they see what you do on the farm, they are astonished. They cannot believe the amount of technology you guys use. They can't believe how sophisticated you are from a sustainability standpoint. Most of them have never, been close to a cotton field in their life, even though they might be, cotton buyers, responsible for sourcing. And when they walk away, they go, oh my God, this is amazing. I understand why U.S. cotton is better. So this is a quote: seeing third and fourth generation cotton farmers proudly embrace data and modern tools to drive verifiable, regenerative practice and ensure their legacy is better farmland for the next generation, the lesson everybody can and should take from. So again, when you guys participate in those events, again, we'd love to take growers with us. We're taking growers on several different events this year, including the China. When they hear you guys talk, it just makes a huge difference. So thank you, for everything you do. It is kind of funny. I think they think that you're still around, you're out there driving the tractor, maybe, you've got the donkey pulling the plow. I don't know what they think, but they're blown away when they see the sophistication of what you guys do. So RAP. What is RAP? RAP is the Regional Agricultural Promotional Program, okay? The USDA in December allocated $1.2 billion to help drive U.S. ag exports and diversify our ag exports away from our main trading partners, to broaden, our base, if you will. And there's $300 million available in this first tranche. So our objectives are to drive our export value growth. Again, we can't control volume, but we want to get the highest price possible for U.S. cotton and the highest possible premium, and diversify away from China. I talked about China earlier, how important they are. They're always going to be important, right? And we got to diversify, and we shouldn't have a third of our eggs all in one basket. So we're going to focus on using this money for Central America, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Vietnam, Turkey, Indonesia, etc., because that's what the USDA is really saying to us. They said, basically, we want you to use this money outside of, you can't use it actually in China, in EU, Canada, Mexico. You've got to use it in other places because we want to diversify exports. So we submitted an application this week for $38 million. Probably won't get $38 million. It's available over 5 years, but we're hoping we'll get about $20 million. And again, we can do more programs, more services, give our customers more data so they want to use U.S. cotton. So in summary, 2023, difficult year for the U.S. cotton industry, difficult year for the global textile business. I think it's going to gradually get better. We do need rain in Texas, so we're going to get volume up. And CCI is going to continue to innovate. We're going to continue to be the leader around the world, so we got to stay ahead of Brazil. So with that, I'm available, at lunchtime. I'll be around. If anybody has any questions or wants to know anything about CCI or what else, we're doing, I'm glad to answer any questions at that time. But I think I'm out of time for now.
Oh, you got one question over there.
Taylor said I could ask, I have to ask this question.
Okay.
Because I'm intrigued. Because the statement I got from you there is U.S. cotton needs China. The previous talk I got was China, Russia, Iran, and the fourth one that was on that list. So how do you walk that tightrope when the South China Sea and Arkansas and the U.S. are moving towards China is one of the worst, and you say China is who the U.S. needs China? How do you walk that tightrope in a very difficult situation?
So it's a great question, by the way, right? And as you guys know, macro, geopolitics, macroeconomic events, really affect, U.S. cotton more than anything that we do. We never talk politics. So when I go to China, there is one word that I never utter in China. Guess what that is? Xinjiang. We don't say the word Xinjiang because China feels like they have been unfairly discriminated against. And you know what? Whether you want to believe it or not, they believe that, Taiwan is theirs. And Hong Kong belongs to them. It's just, they believe that because historically it's true. So, but we don't talk about any of that. What do we talk about? Cotton and why they should buy U.S. cotton. And we stay out of all the politics as much as we can. And that's the way we have to walk it. Because we don't represent, I represent you guys, okay? I don't represent the U.S., government and their political issues, right, and pressures. I represent U.S. cotton. My job is to sell U.S. cotton at the highest possible premium price. I don't care what price. Okay? Is that okay? It just is. Look, my job, I'm a business, person. I'm not a politician, so I don't have to worry about that. Any other questions? Yep. All right, listen, find me at lunchtime if you have any other questions. See Chaz, enjoy the protocol. Let's see how many growers we get signed up today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bruce. I really hope everyone understands the depth and the width that our industry goes to promote your product overseas. I got some comments that there were producers in the room that maybe they had pre-registered and had not gotten their drawing ticket. Miss Carey is back here at the door. If you could raise your hand. It's more than just you, Lee. I know that. So Chad Mathis is going to come introduce our next speaker. While he's on his way up, we are going to do another door prize. This is a little gift pack from the Georgia Young Farmers Association. That number is 516-3073. I'll get with you in a second. All right. And I will change our slides around again. If Chad will come on up.
Thank you. Thank you, Taylor. Our next speaker is Jim Davis. Jim is a fifth-generation cotton, corn, soybean, cattle producer from New Market, Alabama. Jim received a BS degree from Auburn University in animal science. After graduating from Auburn, he went to work with the National Cotton Council for 30-plus years as the Southeast Regional Member Services Director. October of 23, Jim began transitioning to his new role as CEO of Southern Cotton Growers, started January the 1st of this year. Jim, we look forward to working with you.
I appreciate the opportunity. If y'all can't hear me, please wave and I'll try to speak louder. I want to touch on a couple of points from our first two speakers, Micah and Bruce. What did y'all get from that? And there's one key word that I see that I want to touch on, and to me it's perception. I appreciate the opportunity to continue to work for y'all. As Chad said, I've been with the National Cotton Council. Started with them in May of '92 and enjoyed the relationships over the years. But I want to be here to request your help. So, over the years, had a good relationship with Taylor. Appreciate the leadership of Georgia. But I want to come back to perception here in a little bit. So where we are on the farm bill, I want me to touch a little bit about that. This time a year ago, we were at the same position we are now. Everybody was speculating that we would get a farm bill. The key points to listen to and look for this year will be if we can get language and text out by April or May, then it may be possibly doable, but I don't think so. What I see is a presidential election interfering with that. So our opportunity to look further and to possibly ad hoc or maybe tweaking this bill for you better. But I want to bring back on my thought about perception. How many in here would like to see cotton at 80 cents? So I want to show of hands. Who would be happy at 95 to $1? We even have some bashful people uncertain. So the point I want to get at, like Bruce had mentioned, the perception we're under is that we want the most for our cotton, right? But we also want the consumers to pay us for that. And if we're not willing to support ourselves, then how can we expect our buyers to give us the most for our product? And I say that because it's hard to find U.S.-made goods, U.S. grown and spun here in the USA. We got to be willing to pay that first. So I bring that back to perception, and I want to read a couple of excerpts from a letter Senator Stabenow put out, and she is chairman of the Senate Ag Committee, but she put my vision for modernizing the safety net centers around 5 key principles. Programs must be targeted to active farmers. We need to provide farmers choices and flexibilities. Assistance should be timely. We need to expand the reach of programs and help more farmers. And we need to address the emerging risks farmers face. Southern Cotton Growers just finished our 60th anniversary celebration with the annual meeting last week. And I want to read a couple of policies that were agreed on. And I'll be around later, but y'all need to understand this is y'all's organization, and it's here for y'all to make it better. The total board of Southern Cotton Growers is around 1.5% of total producers in the Southeast. So I'm here to ask your help to get involved. And it's not just, I want your engagement. And I'm going to finish with a letter that I received and explain why I need your engagement. Some of the policies adopted last week at Southern was, we support increasing of the seed cotton program reference price so that it is reflective of current cost of production that have increased substantially due to the current inflationary environment. Support an increase in the cotton market loan rate so that it is more reflective to the current economic cost of production that has increased 25% since the Agricultural Improvement Act of 2018. An additional policy we adopted was support and continue efforts and funding of a market access promotion and market development funding for U.S. And I say that correlates back to Bruce's mission as well as the Georgia Cotton Commission's too. The last reference I want to have, this one, I'm here to ask for your help before we can unite together. There was a letter sent to Chairman Thompson and to Ranking Member Scott. And part of that letter, it started out, today we write in strong opposition to potential increases in crop reference prices that some members of the House and Senate have been pressing to see included in Title I of the new Farm Bill. Toward the end it says, while inflation has increased the cost of farming, farm businesses are expected to earn more than $140 billion in net farm income in 2023, or the second highest of net farm income ever recorded by the USDA. So I want to leave y'all with that about what we're faced with perception and how we go ahead. Now, we may be at the highest level of income, but they also need to understand our fight for that our cost of inputs are higher as well. So with that, I'm going to leave y'all with perception. I'll be around and look forward to working with y'all.
Thank you, Jim. We are a little ahead of schedule. I want to point out we'll do the rest of our drawings after the lunch. We are very fortunate today to have Reverend Bradley Walker with us from Moultrie First Presbyterian Church. He's going to come give a blessing for our meal. When I talked to him about this, I wanted him to point out that maybe the people that linger in the hall would face eternal damnation. And he reminded me very quickly of the Lord's grace. He also has the fortune or misfortune of being the pastor of Louis Perry and his family. We appreciate him for coming today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you for inviting me, Taylor. I appreciate it. Good to see all the families that I know and some other people in suits. I thought you might think I'm a banker as well as a preacher, but I just talk a lot. But I invite you to join me in prayer for our lunch today as we give thanks to God. Dear Lord, on this beautiful day, we are mindful of you and your care for us. Indeed, we know as humans that the three things we need are food, clothing, and shelter. As we gather for food today, we are grateful for your provision, for those who have made this food that we eat, and for the nourishment we find from it, for the farmers who grew it, for those who prepared it. We are grateful and know that all that we have is from your hand. As these people gather on this day for this meeting, for this convention, we are mindful of the clothes we wear and how much work farmers do to raise the fabrics that we wear so often. We are grateful for that and pray that you would bless them in their work this year. May their fields be fertile, may the fruit of their work be clear and abundant, and may we all be grateful for all that we have. And may we truly know that we are gathered in the shelter of your arms, embraced by your love and your grace. And fill us, O Lord, on this day with your love that we might share with one another and with friends and families. We give you thanks for all good gifts. In Jesus' name, amen.